sing glory!
Today we're sitting down with Beatrice Valenzuela, stylist, designer, and co-founder of Echo Park Craft Fair, which this coming weekend, May 11th to 12th, 2019, is celebrating its 10-year anniversary. Hence why this episode is being released a few days early. Let's call it serendipity. Minor side note, the first 5 minutes of audio are slightly bumpy since I quite literally got to spend the morning with Beatrice, and the ladies got a lot on her plate. Her son Dimitri also makes a few guest appearances to voice his disapproval. As per usual, girls spend way too much time talking on the phone. This episode carries a lot, because this lady just does a lot. Originally from Mexico, she calls Los Angeles home and spends her days immersed among makers, creation, craft, her family, and looks to design as an agent of education, building upon sustainable societal infrastructures, both local and non-native, whilst facilitating human connection as center to all. Meet the woman, mother, and wife whom our feet have come to adore for her sandals, our bodies for the silk dresses, and the Magpie in all of us for her jewelry. This is Connection Through Craft with Beatrice Valenzuela. A quick heads up, we're dealing with an overseas conversation here, so the audio may reflect this. Coming to you from Los Angeles, California, and Amsterdam, the Netherlands.
I would describe myself as a creative that knows a lot of people that make really wonderful things. And so that's how I'm able to connect people with each other, and also too, that's how I was able to create something like the Echo Park Craft Fair with my partner, Rachel, where we bring artists together, our friends, and showcase their goods and our goods to our community, and beyond that too. So I design fashion for women, or for whoever wants to wear it, really. It's very feminine. It's do clothing, shoes, and jewelry. So I think I'm best known for my shoes. Specifically this slide called sandalia, and it's a leather covered slide that's very luxurious, quite pricey, made here in Los Angeles. And I think that's kind of how most people know me, and then they kind of know my jewelry and my clothing through that. But so I have that, and then I have the Echo Park Craft Fair, which is a maker's market that happens biannually. It takes place in Silver Lake, even though it's called the Echo Park Craft Fair. It started in Echo Park. Silver Lake is just a town next, neighbor to Echo Park. We can't find a location that's big enough to house the thousands of people that come to it.
Yeah.
It's about 6,000 people every weekend, when we have it. And so, and then I also have my family. I have 2 children. I just kind of, I do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I guess my idea is that, creating a really beautiful life, a really beautiful environment with as much beauty and color and lightness that you can. And so that's kind of what I strive and I try to share as much as I can.
I look at what you're putting out there online. That's the only way in which I can connect with you from someone who's based overseas, and I entirely get that vibe and the feelings, and you definitely ooze warmth and lightness, and I love everything you design.
I'm so glad. It's so nice because, when you're making something, there's always I wonder if anyone else will like this too, But what I have learned is that usually if I like it, someone else will like it too.
Yeah. There's an audience for everything that you want to do. It doesn't matter how saturated a market is. Yeah. There will always be someone who's going to connect with that, especially when it really comes from yourself.
I think right now we're all kind of, well, not all, but a lot of us are thinking about how we're consuming and what we're buying and how that's making an impact, not just in our lives but in the world. And so I think just like making things and buying things with a little more consciousness, where you're thinking about who's making it, how are they making it, how much of it are they making it, and how are they kind of expressing that into the world. I think those are important things, factors that I really think about when I'm making anything or organize. When I'm organizing the craft fair with Rachel, that's something that we definitely consider. It's very important to us.
Yeah. There's definitely, we're in a time and place now where whatever we invite into our lives, in whatever form that may present itself, it's something that we really, really are looking to in terms of like where it's coming from. And I touched on this recently in an episode I just put out with Danica Chang. She's the founder of Pamplemousse, and her brand as well just made a recent transition. And I love seeing how we're all cohesively coming together as a community, a global community, and really standing for these sustainable and ethical movements.
Yeah, I know. That is the thing that's really cool about, the opportunity that we have with social media. I actually have a really positive experience with social media. I definitely hear and validate, what people say about how it could be really difficult if you're coming from a place of feeling left out, or I'm not even really sure, because that's not my experience. I go to social media to share kind of what I've created, and then to also become inspired by other things and other people and other people's visions. Sorry, that's my son. And so yeah, whenever I don't want to look at it, I don't want to look at it, and when I do, then I get to pretty much go anywhere in the world. And let me just say hi. I'm going to be over here because I'm on a phone call. Sorry, I just got home. Of course, I'm like, saying yes is like, I was in my car, now I'm home. It's beautiful out. It's beautiful today.
Along for the ride.
So anyway, I was saying that about, yeah, exactly. You really are like with me for like a day in my life. So that's kind of what's been great for me. I love I'm able to even just have this connection. There's no way we would have met, because it just would have been difficult because of the distance.
Yeah.
And here we are speaking, to each other.
Yeah.
About like things that are important to us, and having this nice exchange and connection, even though we're not face to face.
Yeah. And put it very simply, why do you design? Where is that drive coming from?
It's really something I just have to do. There's like a compulsion to do it. There's things that I want that I'm not finding out there, and I want to create. So that's kind of how it started. It was things that I wanted, but I couldn't find. Either they didn't exist, or they didn't exist in my price range. And they also didn't exist in the way that, where everything was being made in a more conscious level. So all those things were important to me. So I thought, well, if I'm not finding it, I'm just going to make it. And that's how it all goes with everything that I make. And then once you start making, then it becomes a little bit of I don't know, maybe you think like this is maybe how a lot of artists work too. You're like, I have to do this one more thing, or I gotta do this, or like it just comes to you, and you wanna create it and put it out in the world. And I always find like the most satisfying thing is when I see someone I don't know wearing my clothes, just like out in the world, because with my friends and my colleagues, we wear each other's stuff, we trade, we support each other, and so of course we're all wearing our stuff. Like right now I'm wearing head to toe designers that are my friends, or that I design myself. Even to my underwear, which is incredible. It's it's such a great thing to, my purse, my wallets, my shoes, my jeans, my jewelry, everything that's on my body. But so when I see someone that I don't know, or like, or maybe a picture of them wearing my thing, my dress, or specifically, I draw my own prints. So whenever I see like girls like walking around in my drawings, that's like, oh, it's the best feeling.
That must be the dream.
Confident, and they feel sexy. It really is. You can see how their whole, they're walking around feeling like goddesses, and that's like, oh, the top. That's really like the best. Like, I feel so fulfilled, and so that feeling, I feel like, then you kind of like chase that feeling. You're like, oh, I want to see more of that.
What are some of your earliest memories that encapsulate that human kinship with the endeavor to design?
Well, I think, I feel like there's always, I don't know, I think like a lot of children. This is my son. Dimitri, I'm on a phone call. I'll be with you in a minute. I think like I see even like my daughter, right? She's already doing it too, where you like the drawing of like your dream dress, shoe, or something. I think a lot of children do that, right? I have that memory of doing that and just being like, I want a dress that looks like this, and sometimes like feeling really frustrated because maybe my drawing skills weren't like up to how I imagined it in my mind. Like I imagined it a certain way, but like my drawing skills weren't as good as that vision. I think that's that. Yeah.
It's always like when you're a kid and you think you can rule the world, and then sometimes when you put pen to paper and you see the end result, it's like, oh, okay, but you keep on going after that vision, and from there on it's just like you keep learning, and your design and like your aesthetic evolve, and now you see where you yourself are at, like your shoes, your jewelry, the fashion. You've created an entire community upon it.
Then while you're designing too, you realize that it doesn't have to be just a drawing. It could also be, you can have references, you can have like imagery, you can have actual items that you can be like, I want it to be like this, and I want to have this kind of stitching, or, and then it's not just as like my design process is not just like I make one drawing and then it's like, let's make this. It doesn't always happen like that. Sometimes I find something, like a vintage dress, or like an image of like a really old like Greek ancient jewelry or something, and I'm like, this is like, I want it to be kind of like this, but then like we'll do this material and like we'll swap this, or just also concrete like objects inspire me and are helpful, because then you got when you're collaborating, when someone else is actually making the like, I'm not sewing all my dresses, you know what I mean? I'm not putting together all the shoes. There's like other people that are making that happen. So I work with other people to help create my vision.
How do you go about approaching new collections? What does that process look like in sourcing the references, and from going to that mood board state to presenting a cohesive plan to your group of designers and really trying to translate and communicate that vision?
It really is like, there are so many things, like my inspiration comes from everywhere, like all over. It could be from like, a film to like even just like the feeling of that film, or, if I'm on vacation, like I'll come across like, a certain type of girl or something, or like I see a whole bunch of different little kids, or, it could be like, or it could just be like, for my Sandalia collection for spring, all the colors came from this one particular. I was in Sicily with my family, and we took a boat and out to this cove where you can only get to by boat, and there was all these colors were in one rock. It was all just like the moss and the everything. There was this like lilac moss, and then there was this kind of like corally, other kind of seaweed on there, and then like the water was this like beautiful aquamarine, and so all the colors were there, and I just thought, oh my god, all of these colors are so perfect. And so that's how I took a picture, and then I just go through all my samples of leathers, and I choose, I'm like, I want these colors, for spring altogether. That's kind of like how, an example of how that would be. Or I saw 2 years ago, because I saw this amazing opuntia, which is a prickly pear cactus in Puglia in the south of Italy. And I grew up with this type of cactus because in Mexico we have it. We eat it. It's like it's the fruit also, but the specific variation has these beautiful blossoms. And I'd never seen it blossom like that because it's a different variation. And so I came back and I spoke to my friend who helps me do all the repeats for my patterns, and we started drawing together. And but then it took probably a year of drawing, and then getting it right, testing it, making sure it was on the right silk, the right cotton. And before you know it, by the time that you actually make a dress, it's a year later. So you have to be really patient too. Sometimes the process takes a really long time, and sometimes it could be really immediate. For jewelry, for example, here in Los Angeles, I live very close to downtown, and there's so many resources. So I was just there. That's where I'm coming from. I just go there. I hand pick, the beads that are really calling me, and I say please string these. I want you to put this clasp, and within a week or 3 days they can have it ready for me. So sometimes it's faster, sometimes it takes longer. So you just kind of have to be really patient, go with the flow, and try not to set too many hard goals because it could be really disappointing sometimes.
Yeah, it's a process that you don't want to really put pressure on. And even though there is an entire business, you still have to take into regards that you're a person. And like you said, when you went on that family trip, that's where you found your reference. That's where you found that inspiration. And it's not from sitting in an office and trying to pounding out designs. It's from going out and living life.
Yeah. But, I also have that luxury. Somehow, without a lot of years of work, my partner and I were able to work our lives so that we incorporated. Beautiful. My children also love making things because my partner also, Ramsey Condor, he's who I have babies with. He also designs beautiful, beautiful, beautiful things, and so our children are constantly making things too, because I think that's what's around them all the time. But yeah, so we kind of organize our life so that we can go explore as much as we can, because that's kind of the thing that really feeds us. So I totally it's a huge part of our life, but I understand that that's not an easy thing for everyone. Yeah. There are people that just have to sit in an office and come up with a whole bunch of designs. I feel.
Yeah, it's not so much that you have to. I recently had a conversation where it was a dialogue of trying to kind of avoid that midlife crisis, and how more and more people, it's not say when you hit 40 years old anymore that people are burning out. It's around 25 towards 30, and people just can't do it anymore. And so the question is really, well, how do I make this immediate, actionable, tangible step within my own life and try and support myself, but I still actually need to work? And I think it's just really even the smallest of steps, whether that be joining a Facebook group with your desired community, or making a half an hour in your day to sketch, or whatever it may be, that's how you really start and implement those steps into your life.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. When we were starting, my partner and I, we definitely, we had other jobs that were kind of helping us, spearhead what we do now. So for some time, you kind of have to just juggle and do what you got to do so that you can pay your bills, and but continue doing your sketching or your sculpting or your sewing or your drawing or just your collaging or just dreaming, and also to create. You can start small. You know, you don't have to like, I think sometimes people think that it has to be like huge right away or something like that, you know, and so they go into debt or they go really big and then they kind of are in over their heads. So I think it's just doing what you can with what you have and starting smaller and like calling out to your community and then growing it little by little so that you can be more flexible and like, you know, if things aren't going that well, then you can kind of shrink back a little bit and rethink some of the things or some of the choices that you're making. Or if it's going on really well, then you can expand a little bit. But it's nice to be able to expand and then, you know, retract a little if you need to. I think that's like the advice I mean, you know, I would give anyone that's wanting to go into, you know, this type of lifestyle when you're making things and selling them. And sometimes you make something and you think it's, oh, everyone's going to want this. And sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes it's not the right time or the right place or the right community. And then some other time you do some other thing that you think no one will want it. And then that's the thing that takes off, you know?
Yeah. And regardless...
Just like, just being like... Regardless, just keep on making.
Yeah. Whether that's received well by an audience or not, it should really be something that you do for yourself first.
Yeah.
And what do you correlate with the word design? Like, when you hear that term, what does that bring up for you?
Design, I think it's when you imagine... you know, an object or an experience or anything that you can transform into something tangible or something experiential.
Between your fashion and the shoes and the jewelry, is there a common thread that's connecting all of them? What, say, design principles do you always try to imbue within your creations?
I mean, one thing that's I actually want things to be really comfortable and feel really good.
Yes.
So if it's not comfortable, then I don't make it. Or I work so until I can get it to be comfortable. You know, it's like within like, you know, in shoes, it's like using a lot of foam, using like really luxurious materials, you know, making the heel just a certain height, a certain thickness, you know, so you have a lot of support. And then clothing, you know, making sure that the inside of the dress is perfect. Like, you know, I love using French seams or just like using linen and cotton and like, you know, even the tag. Like, it's like you make sure that, because sometimes like you will have this beautiful thing, but then the tag is like itching, or it's like you just want to cut it off, right? So even little details like that, where I'm like, I want the tag to like all the seams to be inside, so like there's no seam rubbing on your skin. And you know, with silk, it's like most of my dresses, like they end up cost so much money because I use so much yardage of silk, and silk is so expensive. But it's just the best feeling when you're walking around and like every part of your body is like rubbing against silk. You know, it just makes you feel fantastic. Also, too, it doesn't really have that much weight, so it's like you're totally covered, but you feel like you're wearing nothing, like you're wearing air.
Yeah, you're just in a cloud.
So yeah, I think a lot about like comfort and how it makes you feel when you're wearing it. You know, I always find that when women are really comfortable, they're able to be themselves more freely. You know, sometimes you can really see someone, actually when I watch maybe like award shows or something, you can see women really struggling because their dress is too tight or their shoes are too high and they hurt, or their hair is too slick back or whatever, you know. Or sometimes you see girls and they're like tugging and pulling at what they're wearing. It's like, it's so much better when someone could just be comfortable and move freely.
Yeah, and it plays on one's sense of self-consciousness when they're just not comfortable in what they're wearing. And I just love how you seeing you in the clothes as well, and the way that they're captured and the environment that they're captured in. It just speaks so much to the entire spirit that you design with as well. It's just it's luscious, and it's truly like a lifestyle.
Yeah, that's actually I think what I'm going for. And these items too, they will age well, and they will last. Except for probably the sandals. I would say they don't have a very long lasting life. You have to be really, really precious with them, and people just wear them because it's I use lamb and it's really thin, and that's why it feels so luxurious. But they do all the leather is exposed, so they usually just last for like a season or two, and then you're ready for a new pair. Unless if you're just keep them inside. But the idea is that you should just wear them and just be comfortable when you wear them. But everything else is is meant to be really, really to last you, and even my daughter will say would you save that for me for when I grow up,
Aww.
And also she loves the stuff that I make. She asked me to do a little line for her, and I did. So that's gonna be coming out this late spring.
Oh.
So some of the clothes that I make for women or for adults are going to be coming child size.
I can't wait to see that. That's going to be so cute.
It's really cute. It's really cute.
Has she asked to model?
Some of it will be unisex, but
Has she asked to model the collection
Oh, yes.
yet?
Well, she wants to art direct. She wants to model and art direct.
Oh, lady with a vision.
Yeah, she's already casted. Oh yes, she's definitely an art director. She's also, because she's grown up around so many little photo shoots and event planning, and so she knows. She also look at and photograph quite a bit, so she's really can see how things should be in her mind.
Yeah. And I feel that in creating and putting the designs that come from oneself out there, it is a communication of one's perspective, their beliefs and message, and to come up for and own yourself in that way really speaks to your strength and your value that you know yourself to have and be. And in relating this to the intuition and gut, is this something you openly make space for and practice?
Oh yeah, everything comes from my gut. I mean, every choice. Anytime that I go against my gut feeling, I always go back to that, being oh, I should have listened to my first intuition, that gut feeling. That's really how everything in my life is run. Every single time that I go against it, it's a mistake. I always think, oh yeah, of course I knew that, but I still went for it. So more and more I try to really honor that and live really paying attention to that.
How have you seen being a designer affect your decision making? Because it's balancing. It's a very creative career, but it's also, there's a lot of technicality in the craft. So how have you balanced that with the fluidness of intuition and gut?
I guess you also have to be looking at, realistically, you have to be looking at your finances. You have to be looking at also checking in with yourself, how much is this taking out of you? And that's when you can, when I was saying, if you are, not expanding too much, then it's easier for you to kind of reorganize and then move forward again or change some things. And also to, be honest with yourself. And if something's really not taking off, then maybe using that energy, moving it into a different direction and just slightly moving, so moving your compass into the direction that feels like it should be going. Not getting stuck on one thing, oh, you really wanted this thing to be, but maybe it didn't take off. Maybe it wasn't as successful as you thought. So don't be afraid to just switch gears a little bit, to kind of find your way again.
And do you have an example of this?
Let's see. Okay, yes. For example, I had a brick and mortar down the street from my house, and it was going really well, but then I had my baby, my second baby, and my husband was working really, really long hours. And so it was kind of all on me. And I had, I just had a lot on my plate. My first daughter was still pretty little, and the store was doing really well, but then I had to you had to have people working there, and then I ended up having really harsh problems with my production because I was producing everything in Mexico, and it just became really stressful. Time the building was sold, and they were gonna skyrocket the rent, and I could have just held on and continue it, but I just thought, you know what, there's so many other things going on. At that same time, we were going to pop up at the Museum of Modern Art here in Los Angeles for the Echo Park Craft Fair, so I have this other outlet, and we have this, our family, we have an Airbnb that's just down the street from the store, down the street from our house, where my husband and I designed the whole interior, and people come and stay there, and it ended up being just perfect opportunity for us we had just brought a whole bunch of beautiful items from Mexico that we had sourced from different communities there, and we just pretty much furnished the Airbnb with what we had in stock, and we decided to close the store and just move into the Airbnb, do the pop-up at the Modern Museum, and then continue the production for the craft fair, which was coming a month later. Stuff like that, where I could have held on and had the store, but I just realized that this was a thing that was taking the most energy, and it was the most problematic. And so it was like, I had to look at it and be like, okay, well, yeah, it makes me sad not to have the store, but I still have my online store, and I have all these other opportunities. And so that's, I think, a good example of just being like, okay, like this chapter I'm going to close. I could always open another store at a different time when it's all lining up a little bit better. And it was the best decision I made. I never missed it, not once. I feel like I had the experience, and I continue to have the experience. I'm actually going to have a pop-up in April, and just for spring at my Airbnb, and so I could just kind of pop up whenever I feel like having a store, and then close it so that I don't have to have the everyday fatigue of being a store owner.
When you finally listen to that pull, that gravitation that's telling you to just let go and trust in the process, it always ends out being better than what you expect it to be.
Yeah. I think some people might not listen to that because they're embarrassed about what people would say, or they're embarrassed that it's going to show up as a failure, or I don't know, some other fear that's like not really, or fear. It's usually fear-based, when you start making bad decisions. So yeah, it's better to just let it go, and then, harness that energy and recalibrate.
And during this time, how did you show yourself some love? Like, what did you do to just chill out a little bit?
I actually love going to the spa, like the Korean spa, for example. There's a lot of them here in Los Angeles. We're very lucky. So we can, we just go and have like maybe a treatment, a good scrub, a good like massage, soak in the tubs, eat some delicious Korean food, take a nap. And that's like a thing that you could do like, in one day, or, for a couple hours in the day. That was a big way for me to, it still is, to kind of, find some new resources within myself. Just like rest my body, pamper myself, take care of my skin. And then that kind of helps me be like, okay, let's go, and of course traveling whenever you can, whenever we possibly can, we leave for as long as we possibly can. And that's more for my soul, leaving the country and going somewhere wonderful to explore, and meeting new people and seeing new things, breathing new air, swimming in the sea. I love that.
And what's your favorite adventure been so far?
Favorite adventure? Oh, I always feel like my favorite adventure is like the one that we just did,
Yeah.
Last summer we were in Rome and Sicily, and it was fantastic. We had so much fun. We made so many friends along the way. We were in the Sicily, and we spent some time in Favignana, which is this island off of Sicily, and then another one that's further closer to Africa called Pantelleria, and that was spectacular. Just the four of us. It was just magnificent. We came back just filled with a new vision, new light, new energy, new love, new friends. It was wonderful. Now we're planning our next vacation. We'll see.
Oh,
if we can make it. I have to figure out how to pay my taxes first.
Tax season's the worst.
Yes, we have to pay our taxes. I'm like, oh, gotta do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, back to reality. But
exactly.
When you're traveling, do you have any tips as parents what that's like with children? And also, touching on making friends and connecting with other people, what's that like as a family?
Well, let's see. Tips. If you're traveling internationally, we always recommend that you are, wherever you land, you're there for about 4 to 5 days, because it takes your children 4 days to get rid of the jet lag, or our children to get rid of their jet lag. And so we usually do that in like a fun city where you can walk around and like explore and kind of like, be a little sleepy and like grab a gelato or grab a crepe or a baguette, or, just there's things to do, but you could also just like have a nice place to go and rest. And then, we always kind of loosely plan our, locations and then how we're going to get there transportation wise. But, we'll do a whole day at the beach one day, and then the next day we go explore, 20 minutes away. Not too far. I feel that children could be in the car for 20 minutes at a time without too much complaining. Get some snacks, and then go do some sightseeing. Of course, they're going to complain about walking too much or if it's, too boring, but within some beautiful things and some exciting things. And then it's usually when we're hanging out at the beach or poolside or seaside, when they're just kind of swimming around, and then they find other children, and then they connect, and then maybe we connect with the parents, and then we end up, going out for dinner or meeting at that, at that seaside the next day too, or, and that's kind of how we usually become friends. Usually it's kind of through the children or I'm pretty social. So, we go to a restaurant all the time. Like maybe I'll reach out to the owner and, ask for recommendations, or if there's someone that's friendly, maybe the waiter or the waitress or someone that's just kind, I'll ask for recommendations. And usually we spark friendships like that too.
And how have you found that having children has influenced that connection with other people? Do you feel that it differs in a way from when you weren't a parent? And the way you interacted with people before, has that opened up any new doors community-wise?
Yeah, I definitely have more focus in life, just because my time is I have less time to spare. So I try to only surround myself with people that really feed me and I have a nice exchange with. If I feel like I'm feeling drained after hanging out, then I realize that that's probably not a good friendship for the moment, I think it's always nice to it's really nice when you find other parent friends, and then you kind of have like the children can play and then you can hang out. But I also have a lot of friends that don't have children, and I make dates, and I go and have dinner or drinks or brunch or breakfast or go to a movie. So yeah, I guess it's just, I mostly hang out with people that give me more resources, and you really, I found that once you have kids, you definitely change friends, because you kind of realize that there's some of your friends that maybe need more of you than you can actually give, and you'll see yourself seeing less of them for sure.
Really can't wait to touch on this, but Echo Park Craft Fair with Rachel Craven. What were your intentions when the two of you started this event? Because it's really bringing together the connection between the consumer and the crafter and this thriving community that's been built up over the years. How did that start? Like, what was that spark?
Yeah, so it started because I was doing a trunk show with a friend neighbor, and there was just going to be like three of us artists, and I had a friend that wanted to sell her stuff too. So when I asked, oh, can I bring my friend too? She wants to sell her stuff. She was like, no, let's just do you three, because it was in her house, so I understood that, she wanted it a certain way, of course. So that's kind of what sparked it for me. I thought, I have so many friends that don't have a place to showcase their things. So why don't I'm just going to do a sale and just invite all my friends that are making stuff. Whoever wants to come, comes. And then we could just trade or have a good time. They'll invite their friends, I'll invite my friends. And it'll just be a fun time, even if no one comes. We'll just, if there's 10 of us artists, we're going to have a good time because we'll be together. And I just got some cheese and some wine. We just kind of put together some tables with some old doors, and ended up being really charming. But a lot of people came, and it was obvious that the community was ready for that, and it was a success right away from the first one. And then I met Rachel about 3 years later. She was my neighbor. And the craft fair was being so successful that I couldn't find a big enough venue. I was having it in my garden, and there was so many people coming. It was a problem with the cars, with so many people coming, and I couldn't find a place in the amount of time that I had. And so she said, well, why don't we do it in my garden? It's a bigger garden, and it's like there's more places to park where I live. And I thought, yeah, let's do it. And she's such an amazing artist herself, and so she really art directed it. And then she invited so many of her friends that were so just like ready also to be a part of that, and to buy our products. And she made like lavender lemonade. She made it to look beautiful. It was like, it just was so much better, when she helped me host this. So that's from that moment on, I thought, you know what, I'm never doing this without you. And so she said, okay, let's do it. And so, she really has helped me grow it into what it is now, because, we are very different, and we bring in different things, different aspects to it that make it what it is.
Yeah, that partnership, you find someone like that and that they can really build upon where you might be lacking. And I really feel that Echo Park Craft Fair, before we were seeing retail spaces become so experiential, this is what people were really asking for. Like, they don't just want the product, they want to see the communities behind the products and where these products are stemming from. And it's an entire experience. And obviously there's food, there's good things to drink, so that adds on to it.
Yeah, we're always thinking about how can we make it better? Or last time we felt like we needed more of this, so then the next time we try to incorporate it. And I think that's how it's become better and better, because we're really good at always reaching and always staying open to making it a better experience, family tent. So if someone needs to sit down a nurse or change their baby, there's a beautiful space where they can do that, not have to go and sit in the bathroom or something like that. Little touches like that, making sure that the cocktails are the best you can get. There are so many artists that want to be a part of it, so expanding. And now we have almost like a satellite down the street. We call it the Park Craft Fair Connection, and it's just down the street, maybe 30 yards. And so we have a whole area with new artists, food, and a really nice vibe also. And so you can, especially if it's too crowded, for example, at the main event, you can take a break, go to the Connection, see what they have over there, and come back. There's food. You can stay there all day. Some people come both days or all 3 days, because Friday night we usually have it's just 2 rooms that are open. And sometimes people come for all 3. They come Friday night, Saturday all day, and then Sunday all day, because they just want to be in it. And it's really wonderful when people do that.
What are your favorite memories so far?
You know what? Sometimes it's I have to say, so many people come, and I see so many faces. It's more of a feeling. At the end of the day, I just feel really good about what we're doing.
It's human connection. And that's something that all so desperately striving towards. We're always connecting, but rather than the usernames that we're seeing on Instagram, like we're actually out in the real world. You're bringing people outside and tangibly connecting them.
Yeah. You know what? I do think, I think it was 2 years ago, we had my friend is a percussionist, and we had like his band just doing percussion and singing. It's Cuban music, and we just, some of us just danced for like, for a little bit, a couple of songs, and that was so much fun. This time I definitely want to bring more music. I mean, we have like amazing DJs that put together playlists for us, so the music is really good throughout the event. But it's nice when you sometimes bring in some live music element, maybe for like an hour or something. And that's really, really fun. I also love my children make things too, and they sell them. Last year, because I'm pretty involved in the production of the event, my family definitely gets put on the side, and I just usually try to have someone to come and like help me pick up the pieces. And Friday night, I was finally dressed and ready to go out and say hi, and then I saw my son had made these little sculptures, these little wire sculptures in these little stands, and he was wearing a bow tie.
Oh.
So I guess his sister helped him get dressed, and he was wearing like this like kind of like old man pajama top, and then he had his bow tie like right on his skin, instead of it being like under the collar. It was like on his, like a necklace, like a choker.
Yeah.
It was so cute to see him, and he sold out in like 20 minutes.
Whoa, businessman.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's 5 years old. I mean, he was 4 when that happened, And yeah, so they like made incredible outfits, so you can imagine. Giant bow in her hair, or giant flower in her hair, and she sells too, and they have their own experience too, and I really love seeing the children, like the artist children walking around, and they're growing up in this environment. This is their reality. So I could only imagine, like in their mind, all of this is possible already.
How have you found that the intuition and gut also plays a role in being a parent?
Oh yeah, that's definitely, I would say, if I had any kind of ethos on parenting, it would be that. It would be really following your intuition. It's like the only way to do it, in my opinion, because everyone has something to say. Everyone has advice. Everyone has, some kind of words to tell you about their experience. But it's so different because you know your child better, you know yourself better, and a lot of the times what works for other people might not work for you. So you really have to listen to your gut and to your instincts, and to really look at your child, look at your family dynamic, check in with yourself. Am I hungry? Am I sleepy? Have I had enough rest? And then ask the same questions about your child. and just go with that. I think usually when you do that, it always feels really good, and it always works.
I also feel that you're in a really great position as well to speak to this. Looking at our society and their approach in educating our younger generations, where do you feel that they are lacking?
I actually sometimes think that the younger generation has been, and I don't want to sound offensive. I don't want to offend by saying this, but sometimes I feel like there's been, even though they have a window to the world through social media, sometimes there's not enough going outside, literally outside, and having experiences, real connections, like eye to eye, physical connections. And I feel like those are the things that really help a human being become a more complete human being. I think it's always great I always think it's not a good idea to, right after high school, go immediately into university, for example. I think, or if you do that, I think it's good to not go full time, maybe just part time. I think that young people should do a year abroad, find some kind of job somewhere, or an internship, or donate your time to a cause that's important to you. And, be a waiter, be a bouncer, be an assistant to someone, be an apprentice. An apprenticeship, I think it's amazing. I was an apprentice right out of high school. I went to cosmetology school, and I apprenticed with an amazing hairdresser, and I learned how to do hair. And I worked for a company called Paul Mitchell with their creative director, and I got to travel all over the world and got to really learn how to do hair. And so my really young years, I was able to do hair and then do other things, pursue other things that I liked, because I made good money doing hair. So I still went to college, and I took languages, and I took anthropology, and I did ceramics, and I took flamenco classes. Whatever I was interested, I was able to pursue it because I had this income that I could earn at a very young age. Or if I wanted to go, on a trip, I could do that because I could, organize my life in that way. And and then I did other jobs, like being a waitress, and I think it's good to know what it's like to be in the service community too, so that you can treat people you can see like other people's experiences. I think the path of like going to high school and then going straight into university or college, and then straight into a 8 to 5 job, I find that problematic. I think that's what I would say to young people, and then they can live a little bit, and then you can know more what you really want to do. I think that you would make more informed decisions that way, instead of just being like, well, I think I kind of like X, and then you're in it and you're like, oh God, maybe I didn't want to do this.
What do you feel is lacking in our education system, and how have you seen that within your own children's education as well? Are there any subjects or aspects and issues that you wish were being touched on from a young age and that would be followed through upon?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the schools that we chose for our children are both private, and we decided to go in that direction because a lot of the public school system in America is really flawed, and you can't find better ones. And like, especially if the parents are really involved, that's when you really get really good public schools. But the government's not really doing their part here. And, because of our work and the amount of energy that we have to put into it, which was to go to smaller schools that are really progressive and that already kind of implement what, values that are really important to us. I mean, it's expensive for us, but it's kind of a stretch, definitely. But we're making these choices and adjusting in other ways. My daughter is dyslexic. She has dyslexia. And so I think that if, in the public system, she would be having a horrible time. There's not enough resources given to children like her. And so in the school that she goes to, she's able to, be herself and, be confident, and everyone's kind of learning at their own pace. Another thing that's really important to me is being aware of more social justice. I think it's important for schools to speak about racism, social class issues, all that stuff at a very young age, because all that stuff, it starts right away. It starts like at preschool, you already see it. And, especially in a country like America where there's so much diversity, I think that that's the only way that things will evolve, is if children are, made aware very young in the similarities and diversities, and like how we can help and pull each other, and lift each other. I feel like right now they're only, especially in America, the public schools, they're, for the most part, are really just, showing a very narrow, all white, Eurocentric experience and existence and history. The history is told in a way that I don't find true to myself or to my own roots or to reality. And I think that that kind of thing, it just kind of continues. My son thinks I'm on the phone too long. Come give me a kid.
Girls are always on the phone too long.
Anyway, yes. Anyway, so I think that that's, I think that, you know, it keeps the world the same, and we need to move out of this paradigm and change it to a different paradigm, because it's not working anymore. There's too much violence in this country, and the inequality is massive.
In other instances in which you've addressed this in your own life, have there been situations that have come up where you've had to step in and really confront that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I've actually confronted it, because every time I'm having, for example, a microaggression, when it's, you know, specifically racial, I'm always so shocked that I think I'm kind of like baffled, and I don't know what to say. It's not until, you know, a little bit later where I say, like, I get really angry and I say, like, I should have said this, or I should have done that. But I do speak about it with my daughter. My son is still a little bit young. He still doesn't quite grasp, but I try, you know, as much as I can. I try to speak about it more and more with friends, and, you know, in interviews like this, for example, try to use them as a platform. I mean, also to, you know, educating myself more, reading the books that you know, can help me, you know, I don't know, find the vocabulary around it, because sometimes I can't even really, you know, English is also my second language, so expressing myself is sometimes, you know, when it's something so deep, it's hard. I find it hard sometimes.
English is my first language, and even then I still trip up, and you just really have to step forth and take control and, like, really take responsibility that there's so much more outside of yourself, and you are not the only one here. And we always veer away from public learning, and it's something that we're so scared of, and it's all part of the process, and we just need to support each other in this.
Yeah, we have a long way to go for sure, but I feel like this is the beginning, and, like, we're doing it, you know? Just have to be patient and really continue the conversation and stay really open ourselves, you know, because sometimes when I hear new information, sometimes I have a tendency to, like, you know, sometimes not be as open and kind of question it and, like, not really listen. But once I, like, open my heart, open my mind, then I can listen, and it's important to remember that.
Within your own realm of parenting, how have you found that design has influenced your children's lives? How have they kind of taken to design as a means to communicate?
You know, I think, yeah. Well, my daughter actually, you know, her plan for this craft fair is, her project is she has found quotes of different activists that she's inspired by, or, like, you know, athletes inspire her, and things that they've said that she finds that have been powerful words. And so she's chosen different quotes, and then she's done, like, a small illustration to kind of illustrate that quote in her, you know, what it means to her. And so she wants to print them on T-shirts and then sell the T-shirts. So I'll help her, you know, transfer those ideas into, you know, finding a printer for her and print those shirts for her. And that's what she's going to sell at the craft fair. So she's already implementing, you know, her ideas and her need to change things, or to make people aware, or, you know, just to start a conversation, you know, and she's only 10 years old. So I'm, you know, I think it's wonderful. My son, he's very artistic too. When he, you know, so he makes little sculptures, and so he's already, like, bending wire, sanding bases, and it's more of, like, artistic expression, you know, movement. Right now he's working on making movie tickets. Is that what's happening? And you want glitter? Where's the glitter? He wants me to get him. Okay. I'm finding glitter for you. Where is it? That stuff? Okay. So he's making movie tickets right now. I think, yeah, they see us making things and 130 other people. And I think another thing that's really important is that they're learning that they can actually make money from the things that they make. And so they plan accordingly. They're like, okay, like I want to make some money, so I'm going to make this or that, and as they grow older, then you change it a little bit. We're now asked her, yeah, she's making something, but of course she will make money from it, and then she maybe will, donate to some cause that's like important to her. Where before, she would just make something and like take it directly to like, buy herself a dress or something. Which is fine too,
They're getting to explore that creative aspect, but at the same time, they're really building upon the value of their work and learning how to navigate and build their own business. With regards to sustainability and ethicality, if you would be okay with sharing what that process looks like behind your designs and breaking down the price points.
Yes. So for example, if I am, let's just say I'm designing a necklace, right? And so then you're thinking about, so the necklace, you're going to need the materials. So you're going to need, whatever those materials are. And then what it's going to cost for you to pay someone what they're asking you for, a rate where they're going to be able to live their life and take care of themselves. And then if I'm going to be selling it to a consumer, then I would, normally people will times that cost by 2.3. I just do it, which I probably should be doing by 2.3, but I want to keep, I want to be able to offer it at a lowest price so that it could be more affordable. A lot of the times the materials that I'm using are expensive. Like for example, if I'm making a silk dress, I think it's like $22 and up a yard. So if the dress has, takes 6 yards, that just the cost in silk, that's not even cutting, talking about how much I have to pay, the pattern maker, the person that helps me manage, the production, the person that cuts the pattern, that cuts the fabric, and then the person that's gonna sew it, and the person that's gonna put the buttons on it. And then by the time that I have it, then I have to also make some money. So then, you double it 2.3. And so then you get one price, right? But if you're wholesaling, that means that the store is going to buy it from me, and then they're going to double the price so that they can live their lives, right? And so it's, at the end of the day, we're not making a huge profit. But if you're paying everyone right and you're using materials that are long-lasting and beautifully made and well-sourced, that's how it kind of gets broken down. When people are selling direct to consumer, that's when you can really keep the price low, right? Because you don't have to worry about wholesaling it. But a lot of the income that comes, it's through wholesale accounts. Like for myself, I sell to lots of boutiques around the world, and they kind of spread the word for me. First of all, they invest in my design, and then I'm able to continue what I'm doing because I have wholesale. I'm not at a point where I can just sell direct to consumer. I also don't have the means to, spread the word in a way that, bigger companies do, for example, where they can pay, for a, public relations person, or, the way that I've gotten known has been purely from word of mouth. I've been very lucky. There's an element of luck too, there's a lot of people that are making beautiful, wonderful things, but then somehow it just doesn't resonate, and I can tell you, not everything that I make has resonated in a huge way. It's like you do a couple of things and maybe a couple of those things take on. And, and a lot of the times too, sometimes when you're producing, most of the times when you're producing, there's minimums too. Right? So maybe if you're working with a leather company, maybe, their minimums are, 100 shoes, 2,000 shoes. It just depends who you're working with. And so, there's some amount of money that you have to invest out of pocket if you don't have an investor. Sometimes like you think you're looking at a dress and you're like, wow, that dress is $400, $500. But once you break it down, if you're only making 10 dresses, you're really not making that much of a profit. You're a small maker making small quantities. It might seem like, oh, this person must be making so much money, but we're not making that much product.
It also brings into question your own relationship with consuming. What is the ethos behind the physicalities that I'm inviting into my life? And then that's when you see the integrity in it and the purpose with which it's been brought into existence.
I'm always trying to be sensitive when I speak about this because, at the craft fair, the items that we're selling there, you can maybe find a couple of, you can buy deodorant, you can, if you want to get yourself a little thing, but not everyone can afford a $300 pair of sandals, you know? That's like what people, earn in a month, a week, a month, so I always try to be sensitive to that too. And like when I speak, to other people that can maybe save and not buy $10, $30 dresses and just buy one or buy two, it's not a reality for everyone. So I think that what we're doing is definitely making a dent and it's making a difference. But I think we really have to work at a even bigger level. Like I think what we're doing is really great, but I think we could do better. I think there's so much more that we can do. And in my I'm capable of creating what we're creating here and have everyone grow. But I'm also curious as to what we can do to do more. To give more, to be able to lift other people that need lifting, because we are lifting each other here in this community. But now that we have, for me, like the next thing for me is like I would really like to reach out to, for example, specifically Latina girls, because I'm Mexican, I'm Latina, and girls that are maybe at risk, or in their life, they need mentorship, or to see just a different way of life. I'm interested in maybe, it is something new. I'm still, researching and reaching out, but to make a difference in that way. I think we all have a little bit that we can give, and maybe that's the beginning to, in what I'm talking about, how we can all reach a little bit deeper than just like, our closet and the objects that we're buying.
Implementing what you can and where you can with the resources that you have is the best that you can do, and just continuously educating yourself. Even then, it's like a really tangible step of doing this it's just getting a pen, and it's just getting a piece of paper, and it's identifying the causes that really speak to you, and looking at, say, your own immediate community then, and what organizations or individuals are speaking to that in your immediate life, and just bullet point writing it down and reaching out to them, seeing where you can possibly help or donate or invest and allocate resources and time a day in the week or a few times a month.
Yeah, completely.
If you could give an example of a time in your life where it was guts versus logic and you went with your gut.
I mean, I really feel like maybe my romantic experience.
Ooh.
With my partner. Yeah, we met when I was 21, 16 years ago in Paris when I lived there. And, I was going to move to Cuba to go to film school there. And I met this guy, and he was so great. And it ended up being that I wasn't going to go to Cuba at the end. And I thought, I had some different options. And I thought, I'm just going to go hang out with this guy. Like, he's so cool. I really like him. I'm young. If it doesn't work out, I'll, move on to the next thing. And I did. And we've been together since. Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you it has been easy, because it's not, but it has been great. This is Beatrice Valenzuela, Guts and Glory, signing off.
This was Connection Through Craft with Beatrice Valenzuela. Refer to the show notes to further get to know our guest. Share your thoughts and show him some love by subscribing or get in touch to be featured on the podcast. Released every other Monday. Thanks for lending us an ear. Passing on the mic.